Franklin County Board of County Commissioners 9th session. Mr. Jones, please in prayer and pledge.
Yes, sir.
In prayer.
Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day that you've given to each and every one of us. We thank you for the opportunity to discuss, to understand, to seek out wisdom and knowledge today. We thank you that all those things come from you, and we ask that you would help us in all those areas now, in every decision we make today, every discussion we have. You'd be in the middle of it all. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag, not the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning. Okay, next on the agenda will be payments of the county bills.
So moved.
Got a motion on the floor by Commissioner Massey.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Perry. Any discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That passed unanimous. Next on the agenda will be public comment. Public comment.
Good morning, Commissioners. Commissioners hold an important position of public trust. In your oath of office, Florida's Constitution requires that you promise to well and faithfully perform the duties of Franklin County Commissioner. Voting to encumber the citizens of Franklin County for the next 40 years without a logical, well-thought-out, and vetted approach to the issue is a basic abrogation of that responsibility. I believe that each of you is worried, to one degree or another, about the financial obligations this new hospital will require. To think otherwise would be insanity, given the tortured history of Weems' past. In light of the responsibilities mandated in your oath of office, I maintain it is virtually criminal to continue moving forward on this path without detailed, realistic projections of cost versus realistic income for the first 5 years of the project. Said another way, you must have a vetted, third-party pro forma. Commissioners, you may regard me as a harbinger of doom. From my 40 years of business experience with careful attention to financials, I truly believe there's a high likelihood that the hospital will default, and the county's books and commissioners will have to carry that responsibility. First, receivables will grow. Then the county will try and write off other payables on the books in an effort to buy time. Reimbursements will become less and expenses will increase. One day there will be an unexpected and unplanned for major expense, and the hospital won't be able to overcome the financial emergency. You'll be told the CAT scan machine is kaput, or we must immediately switch to digital imaging, or we can't get reimbursed by Medicare or Medicaid, or for some other urgent unexpected cost. And then it'll be plain for all to see that the cupboard is bare, forcing Weems into final default and leaving the county books groaning under the final tragic crisis. When the time comes, as I predict, each of the commissioners who voted to undertake this financially irresponsible decision will be remembered in a manner that will wipe out all of the other good things you have done. Mr. Chairman, I firmly believe and caution you that any decision to move forward without the necessary and realistic facts is a dereliction of duty under your oath of office. My words are strong, but as promoted, this hospital project will be stillborn. Completely ignored at the previous workshop is any accounting for the $1.5 million already spent on the books and carried as work in progress. That number must be legally added to any future monies to be spent on the project for an honest total cost. As presented at this time, final expenditures, fully loaded costs will be close to $17 to $20 million, including staffing and necessary and additional inevitable unexpected costs. Meanwhile, other healthcare providers will be knocking on our doors and providing more and better services than Weems is designed to do under current plans. Commissioners, we have never witnessed such an important decision approached in such a haphazard manner. As an entrepreneur and highly successful businessman for over 4 decades, I have nothing to gain here. My major concern is that Franklin County residents, visitors, and taxpayers have been sold an inappropriate bill of goods from the get-go. That unrealistic promise to voters for a two-story, 31,000 square foot hospital, brand new, filled with patients, was a fantasy 12 years ago, and is still that today, a fantasy. For those of you who say, we promised the people, I say we must acknowledge such a cop-out provides scant excuse for a decade of tragic mismanagement by sitting commissioners. Enough is enough, commissioners. Thank you for hearing me.
Good morning. My name is Judy McFarland. Apalachicola has been my home for 4 years now, and I would like to begin by thanking our commissioners for the good job that they are doing for Franklin County. Last year was a challenging year for us. First, the fire in East Point, and then Hurricane Michael. And you were there for us, and we want to acknowledge our appreciation for you. I volunteer at the Franklin County Jail. I teach a Bible study to the women inmates every week. A few weeks ago, I asked them what they feared most about their future. And I was surprised when several of them answered that they feared being released from jail. You see, we don't have a facility with programs to help the inmates once they are released. Returning to the old drug environment is only too common. The day after they told me this, I ran into Sheriff AJ at a local cafe. I shared this with him, and he told me about his vision for helping not only the women, but the men as well. About 4 or 5 months ago, our commissioners voted unanimously to approve giving the old work camp on Highway 98 to the sheriff for a rehab, re-entry facility to fight the drug problem. And we're now waiting for the completion of the engineer's study on the structure. This will be a 12-month residential inpatient program with vocational training. There is a very successful program now for the men called Fresh Start, but they have to stay in Tallahassee or Panama City until we get a facility here. The recidivism rate is less than 5% for those who complete the Fresh Start program. Sheriff AJ is raising funds, and he's applying for grants to fund the renovation as well as the operating expenses. So funding is not an issue. We have private funding available. Many of the women in my Bible study class have children waiting for them to come home. We want to do this for them as well as for their parents. So a big thank you to all who took the time to come this morning, put on the little green ribbon and show your support. This is a worthy endeavor. And again, thank you to the commissioners for helping us to make this a reality. And thank you for letting me speak.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Diane Brewer. I'm a resident of 159 Avenue B, and I'm here to speak on the Weems Hospital project. This project, I was here last week for the special meeting. This project is hugely flawed, considering that the plans were developed 12 years ago and do not now meet the requirements of modern healthcare in a rural environment like Franklin County. The plans call for a new lobby, more parking, landscaping, and 10 more patient rooms, which are likely to be empty given Weems' historic occupancy rates. Worse, Weems continues to be financially unsound. The Apalachicola Times and concerned citizens of Franklin County have reported extensively on this. Weems management, board leadership, and even the commissioners do not recognize that this building a new building or an addition on the old building will not provide what is really needed, a modern, centrally located urgent care facility where patients can be treated or stabilized and transported to a regional hospital. Even worse, the USDA approved long ago a $10 million maximum loan for 40 years, which is not enough to build the estimates I heard last week of $12 to $16 million. I know you need help to make a decision of this magnitude. Very few of you have a background in health care. So, for example, there is plenty of help available. There was an article, which I'm going to give to Michael for each of you, that was published in the Wall Street Journal last year, called What the Hospital of the Future Looks Like. And it says, the shift away from traditional inpatient facilities, healthcare providers are investing in outpatient clinics, same-day surgery centers, freestanding emergency rooms, and micro-hospitals, which offer as few as 8 beds for overnight stays. And already the U.S. has more hospitals than it needs in most markets in a 2017 study by an independent analysis group to Congress. The average hospital rate in 2015 was 62%, and ours is much lower. There were more hospital closings than openings over the 4 years ending in 2015, with nearly half of those converting to outpatient-only facilities. And lastly, there's a lot of other detail in this article which I would encourage you to read. I'm going to give this to you, Michael, so you can make a copy for everyone. To offer services where it doesn't make sense to build a new hospital, health systems are building and expanding freestanding emergency rooms and micro-hospitals called neighborhood hospitals. The scope of services varies, but micro-hospitals usually include emergency rooms and beds for short-stay recovery. Typically, 92% of micro-hospital patients are treated and sent home in an average of 60 minutes. 8% are admitted. So I would
Time up,
encourage you
ma'am.
to take,
Time up, ma'am.
and one other thing, consult experts like this gentleman.
Time up,
Michael,
ma'am.
thank you.
I'm Marvin Heyman. I'm president of Alligator Point Taxpayers Association. I want to tell you thank you for all the things that you are doing for Alligator Point, specifically working on our new roadway, yay, and bids are going to open up, I guess, around the 5th of August or so. I know that you guys are working on a dune restoration project. Thank you very much for that. And we're getting a new bike path, which is wonderful. So this is just a minute to say thank you for everything you're doing for Alligator Point. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Good.
Good morning. My name is Donna Butterfield. I'm going to read to you a short report that I compiled from the Agency for Healthcare Administration's review of Weems Memorial Hospital on May the 23rd of this year. Weems does not comply with the emergency preparedness rule mandated by federal regulations. 19 pages in this particular area of violations and citations. This ought to shake everybody up. Weems is not in compliance with requirements for a critical access hospital. Everybody's worried about you losing that. Well, we may have already lost it on our own. The critical access hospital, which is Weems, failed to ensure development, review, and implementations of policies governing the total operation of the hospital, and failed to ensure the provision of quality health care in a safe environment. The Weems Governing Board is specifically identified as possibly responsible, along with CEO Cannington. Another 16 pages of citations. Weems had numerous deficiencies related to fire and life safety relicensure. There was no accessible exit from the hospital. The fire alarm system was found to be in trouble mode. It was discovered the system had been in trouble since December 20th. The inspection company had notified the hospital on December the 11th in writing that the system might not operate correctly if not repaired immediately. When ACA came there on 5/23, it was still non-functional. We're talking about fire safety. The Weems Risk Management Survey listed violations in nutritional care, failure to develop and implement procedures for the cleaning and sterilization of emergency department reusable instruments, and non-compliance with the cleaning and sterilization demanded by the Centers for Disease Control. Twice a week, sterilize, protect your patients and staff from biological contamination. Weems staff indicated that in the absence of any supplies for the biological testing, it probably isn't being done. That's another 13 pages worth. I don't know how this board can consider at 10:30 borrowing $14 million when you don't even know yet if you still have a hospital. This is all pending. It's all about relicensure,
Time up, ma'am.
and it's a little scary, folks.
Good morning. I'm Denise Butler. Probably in 1993, I stood before a different group of commissioners and talked to you about the signs of a healthy community, and that one of those signs of a healthy community was a strong library. That commission, fortunately, agreed with me in time, not immediately, but in time, and now we have a thriving library. I will tell you that a healthy community is also marked by how they take care of their most vulnerable. I've been volunteering at the prison with the women. I teach them anger management. Some of my friends think that's kind of humorous. But I have learned more from them than I could ever teach them. I have learned more from them. And what I'm learning is that they have an incredible desire to be functioning members of the community again. And they need our help. And we may not be able to save them all, but as I explained to them, the reason that we want so much for our women is because they are the mamas, and they will raise their children to be strong individuals. And the draw for being with their children is incredibly enormous, of course. So I am here to add my support and my voice for anything that we can do, because I believe that if we fail to support them, then we are also part of the problem. We can say, well, drugs are decimating our community, and those of us who have lived here, I've lived here 42 years, we know that they have decimated vast segments of our population. But we must begin somewhere. And the programs at the jail are working, and they are good, and people, they're taking yoga, they're taking Bible study. They know their Bible better than I do. They want to become functioning members of society. So I'm here to add my voice, my time, my treasure, my talent to whatever can be done to help these of our community. Thanks.
Thank you.
How far does this go down? Thank you. Good morning. I'm Cheryl Fritch Middleton. I'm the pastor of Forgotten Coast Community Church. And I'm here in support of Sheriff Smith's rehab and reentry program in the facility. I want to thank you, first of all, for approving that, but we really need to get going on this and get something done. I've had the opportunity and pleasure of meeting several of the people who will be impacted by this, not only the inmates themselves, but their families. I know their moms, I know their kids, and I see the impact this has on them. Like Denise just said, most of these people want to go back and become productive members. They want to change. They want to be different than what they were before. They want to do something different. They want jobs. They don't want to go back to what they came from. But a lot of them, when they get out, they don't have no place else to go to. Some of them, their families have written them off, or their families were the source of some of their problems. Or they end up homeless. And then the people who end up homeless, we're feeding them at our church. You know, one day a week we're open for a food pantry. They're coming in there. We watch the arrest reports every week to see who was picked up again, because they don't have anything else. They have no other thing to do. What these people really need is an opportunity to move forward, to get their lives reset, and to have hope. We all want hope in what we do. And right now, even when they get out of there, they don't have it. They have, I have the opportunity right now, I'm working with somebody who just was released in the last week or two. She's scared. She does not know how to re-engage with her kids, how to, all the other things she needs to do. She wants to go back and get a GED. We're trying to help her get that stuff done. But if we have a program like that, that's going to give them hope. That's going to give them a way to get back there and make the changes they want to see. And I thank you for your time.
Hello, I'm Kenneth Mark Burke. I am residing at 239 Carroll Street, where I've built a house in East Point. I have 40 years experience as an electrician at a Memorial Medical Center in Springfield, Illinois, which morphed into Memorial Health Systems. In the time that I was, in the 40 years that I was there, it went from a 240 bed hospital to a nearly 500 bed hospital. We were charged with not only doing maintenance and electrical stuff, but helping others prepare for the Joint Hospital Accreditation Commission inspections, which they always wanted to pass with flying colors, which we always did. We also were in charge of taking care of outside contractors that did any maintenance or building in the area. The hospital grew from the small hospital to having 2 clinics for all the doctors involved. Southern Illinois Medical College right next door and actually attached. So the point is, I do have some understanding of what is going on in the medical field. There are a number of red flags that have been brought up this morning. The goal of the hospital should be to give the very best medical care to the individual that comes in the door, always. The second goal is for the hospital to help the family of the patient that comes in the door. The third is to be always financially capable of continuing those first 2 projects. This has not been a case for Weems as far as I know, and I have actually been contacted by a past CEO of Memorial Health Systems to be an on-the-spot voice for this area. They were concerned with the possibility of building a new hospital that was actually functional. So the red flags that have been brought up by the different people here are very important. I really caution you against spending a whole lot more money without enough real investigation to all the areas. Emergency response was very important. Having a clinic that has a fast treatment time, very important. Having not only a survival rate, but an improvement rate is very important.
Time up, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Kristen Anderson. I am an artist and metalsmith. Since 1974, I have made my living with the works of my hands. Last year, Commissioner Parrish appointed me to the governing board of Weems Memorial Hospital. It is a very great honor to serve on this board. In March of 1985, I happened to drive through Apalachicola on my way to an art fair in Tampa. Those of you who were here then can remember how run down Apalachicola was at that time. But it seemed to me that Apalachicola was on the upswing. Back in Wisconsin, I really was tired of chopping ice off my roof. So I sold my little house and bought a large old building in downtown Apalachicola. In August 1985, I arrived with everything I had worked for my entire life. My first weekend in town, Hurricane Elena blew out all the second-story windows. In November, Hurricane Kate flipped the entire metal roof off of my building. But I persisted. As Christmas approached, I realized I still had not felt cold. For 14 years, Long Dream Gallery grew and prospered. My studio, Christian Works, was in the big windows facing Market Street and Avenue D. Long Dream Gallery carried the works of 135 artists from all over the USA and local ones. I had 3 employees, but times change. I realized that I needed to return to what I am really good at, which is making things in beautiful metals. In 1999, I sold the building, moved up in the woods, built a new studio, and put up a website. My point in telling you all of this is that in 1985, if I had counted every penny I had and done elaborate plans and projections, I never would have come to Apalachicola. I never would have started Long Dream Gallery. Knowledgeable professionals have done the plans and projections for our new hospital. These can be modified as necessary. There will be problems and unforeseen obstacles. So, we must forge on through these difficulties. The people of Franklin County voted to build a new hospital. We want locally controlled health care in this county. We want our local professionals who know us to care for us here. We want to visit our loved ones here, not to have to drive hours or even 30 minutes away. For the benefit of our families, friends, and neighbors, there comes a time when we must bite the bullet and take the plunge. It is time to build the hospital we voted for. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Gathana Parmenas. I've been a resident of Carabel more than 20 years. I've actively come to city and county commission meetings and watched with interest the tale of Weems Hospital. Over and over again, there have been management failures, some of them quite disastrous. Most recently, AHCA, the Agency for Healthcare Administration, issued a report which was very condemnatory about management. Despite written notification of the danger of fire at that hospital and of the problems with the fire system at that hospital, the hospital failed to conduct the required quarterly evacuation drills. That's not a problem of money, that's a problem of management. The other thing is that everybody seems to think that the feasibility study done in about 2012 proved that this hospital would work. That feasibility study not only used old census data, it also failed to take into consideration the fact that just over the West County line, there is a hospital. There was a hospital then when the feasibility study was done. They simply omitted it from the data. They declared that a new Weems Hospital would have no nearby competition. We know that's not true. That calls into question the entire idea of getting this loan even back then. My question to you is simply, no matter how much money you put into a new building, how are you going to lure genius management that can make a rural hospital work when all over the country they are closing down because the model of a small rural hospital, no matter how dear to our hearts, does not work anymore? Thank you.
Good morning. Excuse me. My name is Brenda Carlin. I live on St. George Island. I don't know if you guys recognize me by now, but I have been here a couple times. I was here at the special meeting regarding Weems, and I'd like to speak to that for just a moment. I notice on the agenda that Mr. Cannington will be speaking or giving us a report later on. After the special meeting after the meeting, my husband and I attempted to speak, and we did speak with Mr. Cannington after that meeting. And I had some questions. He was not able to answer them at that time, but I hope today that I am able to get that answer, and that his answers will help in making a decision. The thing that I was concerned about, or one that I wanted to ask him was, what are the revenue sources of Weems Hospital? What percent is Medicare? What percent is Medicaid? What percent is private insurance? What percent is self-pay? What percent is county and state subsidy or other subsidy? What is the largest expense of the hospital? I don't think without knowing the answer to these questions can you make a good financial decision regarding the viability of a hospital. Of course, we all want very good health care. We'd like it to be closer and sooner and nearby as possible as it can be. We'd like it to be the top-notch facility it could be. Healthcare is a nebulous, all-encompassing term, means different things to different people, but from the standpoint of an ongoing, viable business or viable functioning element of this community, it has to be financially sound. And you also need to look ahead and think about growth, which we're trying to accomplish. Think about, can it flow into future good things for this community? So the purpose of my standing up here today is to make sure, commissioners, that you get the answer to these questions. I hope we hear from them, get them today from Mr. Cannington. Again, what are the revenue sources of this hospital? The percent Medicare, Medicaid, private insurance, self-pay, subsidy, and the largest expense. Once you know that information, it'll help guide you in deciding based on what the county has for money to put towards this, what it would cost for whatever we decide. I stood up here last time for a freestanding facility that would be like an urgent care or emergency care, like has already been mentioned. So I hope those questions are answered, and I hope you don't make this huge decision on the fly. Thank you very much.
There ain't no more public comment. Next on the agenda will be. Let's say one thing before.
Your microphone's off, sir. Hit your button.
I get it.
Hit your button. There you go.
There's no more public comment. I just want to say one thing about that, the rehab. This commission has done everything they said they were gonna do for the rehab. I mean, when the sheriff come in and brought it to us, we told him we will give him the billing, but we had to get it. He had to go make sure it was okay through an architect. They not finished doing their survey or whatever they got to do. They sent us word they might be through this week, you know. So we done what we supposed. I mean, that's all our contribution could be, because we didn't have no money. He's supposed to, I guess he said he could get the funding and all that. But this commission is not holding that up. It's because of the architect, and we want to make sure the building was ready for it, capable of being that type of building. And we want to make sure that the state will let it be a rehab. And it's taking the architect firm, which is doing all that, they not complete what they study. As soon as they get complete what they study, we will get with the sheriff to give him the yay or nay. It's, right now it's out of our hands, but we done what we supposed to do.
If I may, Commissioner.
Yeah.
Okay, so where we are, this commission authorized the architect firm to go out there and review it to get a cost for two things: what it would cost to rehab the building and what it would cost to rehab the building to ACA standards, because they want to do the drug rehab center, so that's necessary. Right. The problem is, it's taking some time. It is slow, but again, a few things are against us. Recovery from the hurricane, so it's hard to get the necessary subs to do the get some of the numbers that we need. And they have to do the plans as built plans. So there are no plans. They tried, they searched. The state does not have the original plans for that. So if anybody knows construction, I barely know construction, is going out there and measuring every window, door, everything that's there. So that's what they're in the process of doing right now. Actually, they'll be here on Thursday to try and finish up with their measurements, and hopefully after that there'll be a quick turnaround on getting those as-built plans so they can start to figure out a number. Again, two numbers we're asking for. One, what it would cost just to rehab the building for anybody to use, and then two, specifically what it would cost through ACA to use as a drug rehab center. So that's where we are, commissioners, with that. I'm hoping this last visit on Thursday will get us closer to the finish line, is where we want to be.
Okay.
Good? Good. All right.
Yeah. Great. Okay, next on the agenda will be Mr. Howard Neighbors, Superintendent of Public Works.
Good morning, Commissioners. How y'all doing?
Good morning.
We still with the same old, with the grass cutting and weed eating and cleaning ditches and putting in pipes and road patching. And second item I got is the new motor grader, which it should be on a report, that we're gonna try to go with the 12M, which is a lot cheaper than the one with the joystick, like $30,000 cheaper. So I got up with there and the stuff on the payment plan and all, everything's good. It's not gonna increase my budget none, it just need board's approval on it. So.
And it will be purchased off the sheriff's bid list, so we,
Yeah.
I should conform with bid requirements on that. Yeah. And then also, how are you gonna trade in?
Yeah, I'm gonna trade in the 12H, which is gonna give us $40,000 for.
Pleasure to vote.
So moved.
Second.
I got a motion on the floor by Commissioner Parrish, second by Commissioner Jones. Any more discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That passed unanimous.
And that's all I got at this time, Commissioner, so.
Okay. Keep up the good work.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, Howard.
Next on the agenda will be Mr. Fonda Davis, Solid Waste Director.
Good morning, Commissioner.
Good morning.
Just a little update for you here. They're doing walkovers on the west end. Is completed. We'll be going out today for an inspection on them, and they should be finished with the east end tomorrow. The temporary fix is what we are talking about. Okay. Also, just to let you know that we are accepting more garbage, C&D, household garbage, from surrounding county. Gulf County, they have some issues going on right now, so we are trying to help them out. So it's just letting you know it's getting a lot of more garbage in.
Making a little money off of them.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Good. That's good.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a
Go
question?
ahead.
Fonda, do you foresee any issues with us doing that? I mean, is it gonna be more than we can handle, or are we still doing ours first, or what's the approach we're having?
Right now it's first come, first served, Commissioner. What I got going on is another trucking company, Pridgett's Trucking, is coming in, helping us also to move it.
Okay.
We have about 7 boxes that holds the garbage and be transported to Spring Hill. the garbage is, we filling up the boxes just as quick as they empty them. So we having to use Pritchett Trucking to help us out. So if he say he can't come in with a truck today, which hauls about 20 to 23 tons, I just hope that he continue to run.
In other words, it's not holding no space over there, nothing. It's just temporary till you move it, right?
Yes.
Okay.
That's correct.
Are you moving it to Spring Hill, Florida, did you say? Is that?
Yes.
I see, okay.
Funded
So
you,
the Spring Hill landfill is up in Jackson County.
I see, oh, okay.
funded, how long do you foresee this being something we need to do for the next couple of months, or what do you see this working out to?
Initially, when Gulf County called, they said about 6 months. I think it may be a little bit longer.
Okay. So do we need to have some kind of agreement signed with Pritchard if we're gonna have them, and what do we need to do?
I don't think so. We have an agreement with Richards Trucking.
Mhm.
That's the primary hauler for us.
Right.
Again, like I told you last meeting with his mishap,
Mhm.
we just having to help out a little bit.
St. Joe don't have no landfill, do you?
No, sir. They had a transfer station, and when Waste Pro, they no longer needed Waste Pro service. The transfer station went away.
Okay.
The C&D, I mean, like I said, it's all coming from Gulf County right now. We C&D, that, of course, that is going into the landfill. So that is space that, we need to be thinking about.
All right. Well, keep a close eye on it, I guess. We need the help. We need to help our fellow counties when they in a situation like we might get into something one day. We need help, but keep a close eye on it. Don't let it hurt us.
Okay.
For the rest of what y'all think, Commissioner?
Yeah.
I agree. Mr. Chairman, I agree because you can cause a landfill to close a lot sooner than what it should. If you continue with dumping C&D material in there, you're taking up a lot of space in the landfill.
Yes, sir.
I also agree with the chairman's statement that we need to try to help our neighbors. But you cannot cut your nose off to spite your face, so I agree with the chairman to keep an eye on it and don't let it get to a point where we have to try to scramble and open up another landfill trying to, help our neighbors. But we do need to help our neighbors, no doubt about it.
Okay.
Yeah, I just say keep documenting it too, in case you have any inspectors that wonder about your capacities and stuff. This is a very important time to document why your capacity is being consumed.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
Attorney Schuler, if this is misguided, help me out. I would like to make a motion that we send a letter to Gulf County Commission and ask them, tell them what we're trying to do. We're fine with helping them, but we need to try to get a reasonable answer from them on when they think their issues might be resolved. We're not pushing the time frame. We just want them to know that we're working together, but we do need a reasonable response to how long they think it's going to be. Because if we continue to take all the C&D, we will run into a problem eventually.
Okay.
That's my motion.
I'll second.
That's entirely appropriate.
I'll second Commissioner Jones's motion.
Got a motion on the floor by Commissioner Jones, second by Commissioner Parrish. Any more discussion on that?
One thing to add, Mr. Chairman, if I might. I did talk to some of the Gulf County elected officials, and during the storm, that all their debris was having to be hauled to Spring Hill because they had no landfill to haul that debris to. And now that FEMA has probably cut them off at this point, they're having to do the best they can to try to find a place closer than Spring Hill, because it's a lot of money to haul everything to Jackson County, all the debris that's still left over there. So that they're in a bind, as I stated earlier, but I just wanted to put that on record that all their debris from the hurricane was having to be hauled to Spring Hill. When FEMA's paying for it, that's, you know, it doesn't matter, but when FEMA gets out, then it comes back on the county, Gulf County I'm referring to, so we do need to be careful what we're doing.
I don't know, it's actually contracted with BCC is actually who's doing the hauling for Gulf County, so I don't know if the letter would need to go to Gulf County or to the hauler.
Well, they'll communicate with their hauler, I'm sure. But, you know, the intent of the letter is to, number one, make sure they know that we know what's going on, that we're fine with working with them. But we do need a reasonable response as a board to know what how long they think it's going to take.
Okay.
Is all it is.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That passed unanimous.
That's all I have for you, Commissioners.
Anybody else got anything for Mr. Davis? Go ahead.
On my report, item 4, Commissioner Jones, Mr. Fonda Davis, Mike and Pat O'Connell of the St. George Island Civic Club and I have been working on the possibility of applying for a FDOT beautification grant or grants for the entrance to St. George Island as you exit the bridge. Specifically, the landscape improvement will be for the state-owned land between the exit of Bryant Patton Bridge to Bayshore Drive. Once the details of the plan have been completed, there will be a determination as to how many grants will be required to complete the project. The Civic Club is asking for preliminary approval to allow Mike and Pat O'Connell to work with county staff to create the plan and complete the draft grant application, which is due August 22nd. As has been explained to me, the agreement to maintain the landscape improvement area would be the county's match. Mike, Pat, and Mr. Davis have met to discuss the project and the man-hour cost to maintain the landscape improved area. Mike and Pat are here today to answer any questions you may have regarding this grant. I attached a picture that may help explain where the landscape improvements will be made, a recent FDOT beautification project, and blank application and contract documents. Discussion and action, but
discussion.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
are you obviously are aware of what we got going here? Are you in support of allowing the McConnells to work with you on this?
Yes, sir, I am.
And are we prepared to use our labor to keep it up as our county match?
I mean, I will need additional help. I mean, this is not full-time. I can use, I mean, it ain't gonna take a full-time position to do this here, but I have other jobs they could be working on. But to do this right here, we looking at probably 2 days, I would say, to maintain that when you first come on the bridge all the way down, you have several flower beds, you know, that could be maintained. So, I mean, I hate to say just one day and we get right in the midst of it and it take longer.
When you're saying 1 day or 2 days, are you talking about per month, per week?
No, that's per week, Commissioner.
Do we know what that cost is?
I don't have a breakdown of what the salary would be on that. I hadn't.
3 men.
Just,
Is there volunteers that are willing to help?
Yes, we have a lot of volunteers for the Civic Club. We participate in the pickup of the trash on an ongoing basis. In fact, after the hurricane, we had about 75 people pick up some of the debris along this very area. So the Civic Club is committed to this. We will help Fonda in any way he needs, and we have paid for a landscape architect to do the application to the Department of Transportation for this grant, and we have stressed to her that it's going to be low maintenance, salt tolerant, and the key there is low maintenance, because we know that the county is stretched and we certainly don't want to get out there in the August heat, you know, so we will make sure that it's low maintenance. We've stressed that to the landscape architect.
But we, now this gonna take an extra man. I mean, part-time or something. Cause what we got that they doing, they do. You got any, how is that gonna work with what you got, they already doing some, and this is an extra duty. I mean, this gonna be extra. So it's gonna have to be part-time or something.
I mean, it's, I don't know if y'all know, but you should know, you're taking them on the parks and restaurants. Now, I'm working the 5 or 6 million, I'm about to kill them right now. Yeah. So truly, I do need more help for the beautification or, well, I mean.
Yeah, they can't do but so much, what you got.
Yeah, it's overwhelming. I think we got 2 inmate crews, they halfway come out. Got 2 guys we're running for maintenance. I mean, we about to kill them, just trying to keep things going, so. Parks and Rec need more help.
Thank you, Commissioner. I agree, you know, and that's something we probably, as we get closer to budget, which is next week, we probably need to discuss. But I want to make sure, maybe I didn't make it clear enough. Today is, all we're asking for is a preliminary approval to allow your county staff to work with the Civic Club to see if we can do this. Then when we have the plan, then we come back to you, and then by then you'll know how much, I would hope, that we have a better grip as to how, you know, how many hours you think you'll need to get it done.
But why can't TDC help? It's gonna be funding them, help it out on it.
Maybe.
We're
We'll
actually
look at
having a
options,
meeting tomorrow.
but we can't look at these options until, well, let me put this, I'm not gonna commit the county staff to do anything like this unless the board approves it, you know, to discuss and sit with the Civic Club to try and move this forward. And that's what I have to, and be very honest, I wanna be very clear about this. Nothing is going to be submitted on behalf of the county without coming to the county. I just want to say that. Just don't think that the Civic Club is going to go around us and do, no, that's not going to happen. Trust me.
Well, I believe that, but what I'm saying is, when you open up this have the potential to open up a keg of worms, really, cause if it worked, then they got other, the same thing in other areas, and other people gonna want them. Then it's, what I'm concerned about is the help. I don't want to put the county out there saying we gonna do something, and we don't have the help to do it with. Yeah. I mean, the man say his crew is doing more. Really, what he's saying, they doing more than they should be doing now, because he ain't got enough help. We got to make sure we have the help before we commit to doing this stuff. I mean, I ain't got no problem about doing it, but I want to make sure it's done right. We have the help. Because if it's not, we're going to get a call saying, hey, they're not taking care of it. So let's make sure we put in, when you're writing the grant, see if they're going to give some money for a worker. I mean, they might not. Who knows?
From what I understand, I think that's the county's match.
That's the match?
Yeah, that would be our match. We wouldn't have to come up with any money for the grant, but we would have to agree to maintain the landscape improved area, correct, Mike?
Correct,
Okay.
correct.
Yeah, so that would be our match, Commissioner. So we basically can't ask for money for that. That's what they're expecting us to contribute to the project.
Wow.
It's gonna cause a problem, because you're coming into Carabel, coming into East Point, you're coming from that side, so people's gonna want the same thing everywhere else.
Yeah.
Because you coming from Carabel first, you're coming into Appalachia first, into East Point, into the island.
Yeah. And everybody gonna want the same thing.
Well, I don't blame them.
Once they see it done.
Yeah, well, I don't blame them.
And it's a good thing.
It's a good thing, but you got other places too.
We got to make sure.
I'm just proud of Carabel, they are St. George Island.
And we want to make sure, they said ask the TDC, we want to make sure the TDC got enough money to do, I mean, committed to take care of all the areas, not one area. Not just, when you, like I said, it's a keg of nails you finna open.
Mr. Chairman.
Let's make sure we consider everything when we're doing it. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm remembering maybe 3 or 4 months ago that we celebrated volunteerism here in this room. And it's just like President John F. Kennedy said, you know, we'll just paraphrase that. It's not ask what your county can do for you, but ask what you can do for your county. And I think it's very important, particularly when we think of grants and how they are so wonderful for money and all that type of thing. There is a post-grant maintenance responsibility. At the end, when the grant goes away, how do you continue to the legacy of the grant? So it's important that we think about that. And we ought to be looking, as we look at this issue here, of how can we get reliable, consistent volunteers to support this? Because I do see beautification is a very important part of our environment. But then there are the people here who enjoy it that can help us maintain that as well. And it's not all about the county staff. I just want to add that as we plan on this. Thank you.
Yeah, but what we got to look at is another thing, how long is a volunteer gonna last?
That's true.
I mean, you know,
yeah, it gotta be
people not
something
gonna
reliable.
volunteer forever. I mean, people, that, what we creating here, if it happen, is a paying position. Bottom line. I mean, that volunteering, it'll last a little while, but it's gonna get hot out there. It's gonna get cold out there.
Mr. Chairman, if I could make one point too, this DOT money is ongoing. They have $1 million every year so that Carabel, Apalachicola, East Point could apply for this in the future. There's nothing to prevent that from happening. This is just starting in St. George Island. And, you know, so it's always there. We'd be happy to help the mayors of Appalach and Carabel and show them how we did this, share the knowledge of our landscape architect that the St. George Island Civic Club paid for. And we also had a member of the Civic Club donate $5,000 towards this beautification project. So that's our match to it. And we are committed to helping Fonda in any way we can, and I think Fonda can vouch for us on that.
Mr. Chairman, I think the preliminary difference, though, that we're missing here is that stretch coming onto the island is actually unique because it's state-owned. There's not any other places coming into Carabel that don't have private ownership on one side of the road or the other. It's not all truly state-owned land like it is coming on the island. I'm for beautification everywhere. I think it's going to be a good thing, but those areas are different. Coming in Appalach is probably some areas that are state-owned that could be addressed. Coming in the other side of Carabel, but between the cities, there's too many private ownership. There's a lot. It's just a different scenario altogether. And as I understand it, the ask today is not for us to commit to spend dollars, but to commit to support them moving forward with the grant process. We are having budget hearings starting next week. Anything to do with budget, we can address. And I mean, that's part of doing budget, is addressing needs. So I'll make a motion that we move forward with allowing them to work together to at least apply for the grant, because we don't even know for sure we're going to get approved. I think it's all very preliminary to try to worry about what we're going to have to pay when we don't know it's going to be approved or not.
Second.
I got a motion on the floor by Commissioner Jones, second by Commissioner Burke. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? I'm gonna oppose it. That passed 4-1.
Set.
You through? Anything else for commission? All right, keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda will be Miss Pam Bonnell, Emergency Management. Sorry about that.
That's okay. I don't have anything for the commissioners this morning.
Is we storm ready?
If our citizens are ready, we're storm ready. If you look at that last line on my report,
Okay.
they got a plan, we're storm ready.
All right, good.
Mr. Chairman, can I do something?
Go ahead.
Ms. Pam, while you're here, following in what other commissioners have done in the last couple of meetings, I'd like to remind all our residents that we are in hurricane season. And if we have an event, you need to take the proper precautions for that event. There is no scenario where the county is going to be able to cover you in a mandatory evacuation and make sure you and yours are all taken care of. That's why it's called a mandatory evacuation. Should you choose to stay, you've chosen to bypass what your county officials trying to err on the side of caution are warning you about. I know that it's up to everybody's right. They have a right to go or stay as they want to, but the county cannot provide services when we've mandated people not be here to provide those services. So that's just a PSA for today.
Anybody else got anything for Ms. Bonnell? Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda will be Mr. Howard, Mr. Eric Lovestream, Extension Office Director.
Good morning, Commissioners. I don't have any items for action for the board today, but I did want to just highlight one item in my written report. Our summer camp program took place over at the 4-H camp last week. So we had youth go over for a 5-day residential camp. Things went well this year, and we had just incredible support again this year from the community, from businesses, individuals, from Career Source Gulf Coast to help send our youth over to a full week of 4-H camp. We had 34 youth that went and participated, ages 8 to 13. And we had an additional 10 that were ages 14 to 18 that served as counselors for the youth that went. So this was, again, a bigger number than we've had in the previous year for kids going to camp. And we're really proud of the program and the work that it's accomplished with our youth. So just wanted to highlight that one.
Anybody got anything for Mr. Eric? Keep up the good work.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda will be Mr. John Solomon, TDC Administrator.
Morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
The collections report for April of 2019, the collections were $82,528.08. That's a $21,000 decrease over the April 2018 stats. It's a 20.5% decrease. Honestly, looking back at the way the days fell of the month, Monday was the first, which would be everybody that checked in on Saturday and Sunday for spring break would have been in the March stats. So I think that's possibly why that number was a little different this year. It's back to where it was 2 years ago. The website activity, we had 32,315 web hits in the month of May compared to 26,457 in, that should be June 2018. That's a 22% increase in web hits. And the Visitor Center welcomed 4,042 visitors in the month of June. The total for 2019 for the visitor centers, that's calendar year, is 21,535 visitors that visit our centers this year so far. Our next scheduled board meeting is this Wednesday, July 17th at the East Point Visitor Center. The report is showing we've been working on budget, getting that into the county, so that was pretty much the majority of our meeting discussions were the budget and grants. So.
Okay. This the first time this year you went back, right?
Yes, sir. This is the first time so far it's been gone back. Typically, it's been back and forth, throughout the months, but this year's been a pretty strong year. We're still ahead of the percentage of what was before, and if everybody's seen the visitors in May and June, I think those numbers are going to be back going that direction when we get those stats out into this month.
We putting it out there. I mean, you're advertising good.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, it's gonna be up and down.
Oh, yeah, yes, sir.
I thought it'd be a little better, and then the west bouncing back a little bit, so.
I did too. I agree. I've looked at it back and forth, trying to figure out what might have been the cause, because we did have quite a few people here during that time. And being that Atlanta's spring break was that first week of April, if they came down that Saturday or Sunday, their collection numbers would be at the end of March, not the beginning of April.
Well, you was out there in the audience, and you heard us, we were talking about the last, just a while ago. How about take that to your board and bring it back, you and the commission, if y'all will?
Yes, sir. And we've been discussing on we already paid some to Fonda for the beach and park cleanup, and I think that would probably go into that same effect of beach and park cleanup that we provide for. So I think we've already made a supplement in the budget to be discussed when budget hearings come up to fund things like that.
But what I would like for you to do is not just focus on that particular one, focus on all the areas of the county that.
Oh, yes, sir.
If it come up, I mean, you know, if they decide, if they choose to do the same thing, just see how far you can help them, and then see how far, look for more to come.
Yes, sir. I think that's what that beach and park cleanup is. That park part would be considered what this would be, that they would be assisting Public Works with, would be the park cleanup. Yes, sir.
Well, that'd be good.
The bridges and everything.
Good.
All right.
Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead.
If you could give us an answer, John, before this comes back to us. They got to apply for this on August 22nd. And I was going to make the same comments the chairman just made. I know y'all helping find out with some of the parks and the beach cleanup, the bathrooms on the island, the bathrooms all over this place that these tourists use. But what we're talking about now is extending and more expensive. And as you heard Mr. Davis just say, the current staff that he has is you know, they're swamped with work trying to keep all these parks and restrooms up, from Carabel Beach to Alligator Point and to Dune walkovers. I mean, it's just got a lot going on. I'm for the beautification project coming onto the island. I think it'll make that enhance the entranceway there to the island. So I'm for that. But I don't know how much money is going to be in our budget this year for the county to assume that responsibility and to hire more staff. So we're looking for other ways to try to get this funded. So if you could bring that to your board and our turf chairman here on the board, if y'all could bring that up and discuss it and see what might could be worked out, we'd appreciate it.
Yes, sir. If you can get clarification, direct me to speak with Mr. Davis about what was kind of position he's looking for, the costs, so I could have a firm number to give to that board.
Yeah.
I'd defer to
Yeah, we can do that.
chairman of the TDC board here.
Yeah, we can do that.
He can handle that.
Additionally, Mr. Chairman, while John's here, I want to bring something up. I'm not asking this board to vote today. I just want to give you by way of making sure you understand, and we're not trying to do anything you're not good with. Our board has been approached about, the TDC is about giving some money to our team that's going to the World Series. We have, it's in the current budget. We're probably going to talk about it and vote on it tomorrow, just to make sure you guys are aware. We have a handout today that we gave you with some artwork. We actually are doing it as promotion. The TDC is buying shirts for all the parents and the children that are going. They had to choose, when you go to the World Series, there's two teams from the state, so they made them choose which, one of them had to be the Rays, the other one had to be the Marlins. Our Florida team is going to be Marlins. So the shirt we had done is going to have Florida on the front with the Marlin logo, and it's in the colors of the Marlins, and on the back it's going to have Florida and have the Forgotten Coast logo, promoting our area, promoting our, so we're not just giving money for them to go and blessing them in that way. We're also going to have shirts for them and the parents to wear to promote our county when they're in Louisiana. So I just want to make sure you guys were aware of that, and if you have any issues with it, please let me know.
Anybody else got anything? No,
I like the fact that this logo has one of our Apalachicola oysters on it, too.
Where did they get the oyster from?
I think they took a picture.
So we get them from Appalachia. I want no, I'm not against that project, what the gentleman just asked for. I just want it for the whole county. I'm just being in one place. I want it for the whole county. I'm not against it. Okay, anybody else got anything for Solomon?
Thank you, John.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, John.
I was gonna ask for a break so I can set up for P and Z, if you don't mind.
Let's take a 5-minute break. We're gonna, how long it take you to set up?